Billy Beebe gives details on the major project to one of Canton's busiest roads. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Kenny, JT, and a Hall of Famer. The guys are joined by Gold Jacket great James Lofton. Just search 1480 WHBC YouTube and be sure to subscribe.
And welcome back to the Kenny and JT Show here on News Talk 1480 WHBC. It is Friday. That means it's Hall of Fame Residency Week. And we always look forward to this because each week we get an opportunity to talk to a Hall of Famer. And today, the legendary Carl Eller joining us in studio from the Purple People Eaters and the Minnesota Vikings. How are you today, Mr. Eller?
Oh, I'm just fine today. Thank you. Thank you much for having me. And it's been a great day. It's hot, though, but thank you.
Yes. This residency program, why did you want to be a part of this residency program and come back to Canton to do this?
It was an honor to be asked, to tell you the truth, Kenny. I've started this program a couple years ago. And they asked me to come, which is a real honor. And they kind of told me a little bit about it. And that's what told me I really wanted to come back there. I have much to do, but but it's been great. It's been even more than I thought it could be.
This is such an honor for me to sit in front of greatness. And we do it every week, like Kenny said. Pro Football Hall of Famer come and visit us every Friday. But for me, it's a little bit different because we had some Steeler players in here, and Kenny, my partner here, big Steeler fan.
Sure.
But as a kid, there was no bigger Minnesota Viking fan than yours truly right here. There were some great teams, so much fun to watch. But for me, I want to ask you, you went to college in Minnesota.
Yes.
You played football in Minnesota. You still live in Minnesota. It's cold up in Minnesota.
Well,
why Minnesota?
Well, it gets cold in a lot of places.
That's true.
It's true. Well, I tell you what, I got drafted by Minnesota. They were going to give me a scholarship. Maury Warmath was the coach there at that time, and he said to come to Minnesota. Bobby preceded me by a year, Bobby Bell.
Okay.
And so my biggest thought was I wanted to get far away from North Carolina as I could at that time, and Minnesota was it. But also, they had the maroon and gold.
You like that uniform?
Tell you what I was thinking.
Look at him.
I went to Atkins High School, and their colors were maroon and gold.
No way.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
So I said, well, if the worst comes to worst, I can wear my Atkins High School jersey and nobody will know. Yeah, what the heck? But that experience turned out really great for me. And it was a really super time at Minnesota, and Murray was a great coach.
And they're national champs,
Right.
1960.
Yeah,
as you mentioned, with
we
Bobby
were.
Bell, and that's
Yes.
the last time that
time
we won the
we
Rose
won
Bowl.
the
Yeah.
So for you as a football player, when did Carl Eller know that football was your ticket, out of North Carolina and through life, I guess?
I think I knew my ticket was out of North Carolina, but that's about all, really. I think I think my career was over before I really thought that. First of all, I have a lot of people to thank for my career, but like my career was almost over, or probably over, before Carl Eller, thought I was the cause of it. I thought I was the reason I get to have a part of it. I was so diminished in my own image that it took really some counseling to get out of that. I had a tough time leaving it. But football was great for me, and I love football, and I just, my whole life has been great here beneath, but I did not realize, I tell you the truth, I said, what happened? I
Blink of an eye.
just couldn't figure it out.
Right.
But now I do. I think I paid the price. I had good coaches. I certainly I did think of my mom and my father, whom I didn't know. I've talked a lot about that. But, man, I had some great people, great adults in my life who were just looking after me, thank God. You know.
The great Carl Eller joining us right now, class of the 2004 inductees, which included John Elway,
Right.
Barry Sanders, and, of course, yourself. You've been back to Canton numerous times.
Yes.
When you come back to the Hall of Fame, what goes through your mind?
I learned a lot when I come back to the Hall because I played against a lot of these guys. I see them in there, you know, like Chicago Bear running back. You know, I can't think of their names, but there were a number of them. Yeah, we were played against those guys a number of times. I look at the guys and I wonder, man, how did I keep those guys? Because we had a game plan. Right. And, man, we had to execute that game plan. Gail Sayers, you know, we had to keep him from running wide. You know, Walter Payton went up the middle. There was a big difference between the two. And they were, you know, game changers, you know. And I would lay awake on Saturday night, on Friday night. Oh, man, we dream about those guys. Yeah.
Kansas Comet.
And here's the crazy thing about that, though.
Yeah.
You would lay awake worrying about them, but they would lay awake worrying about you and the Purple People Eaters.
I hope they would,
Right?
but I didn't know that.
But, I mean, Carl Eller, Alan Page just up the road from here, right?
Guys, yeah.
Jim Marshall as part of the Purple Eaters. They worried about you. That's how dominant you guys were.
They should have worried about us because, boy, we were determined to get those guys. And, man, you know, a great player is a great player. I don't care who they're playing against. And they would get their fair, you know, share of yards. They would break the ball over down the middle, 46 yards. We said, well, the game's not over. We got to gather ourselves and keep it together, you know.
You've been in town for this residency program, and you've made a number of stops, and we want to get your thoughts on and you know what went on as you stopped. Let's start at the Recovery Center. Okay, what was that like making a stop there?
Well, that was the most recent. I just stopped there today.
Okay,
and it made me think about my own recovery. I'm a person in recovery, and it hasn't been hard from the standpoint of physical or stuff like that, but mentally you think, well, I can take a shot, or I can take a hit, or I can do it. Not every day, but, you know, once in a while, every so often or whatever. But, like, the discipline is, but you can't. You can't. Right. You know what I mean? And I take a lot of pride in myself with saying, I just turn my head, walk away, you know, something. I mean, I've been in recovery more than 10 years, you know, and it's been a long time. And I pride myself in that. It's a big honor for me. It's you wouldn't think it would happen, but, yeah, I think about it a hit now and then once in a while, but I say, no, Carl, I'll mess your whole thing up.
Right.
I'll mess your whole, it be gone.
Yep.
Just like that.
Everything that you
I
put
see your
together.
face.
Yeah.
I see your face, and I see NFL films. Yeah. I look back, and I just immediately go back to, like Kenny was saying, the Purple People Eaters and those great defenses of the Minnesota Vikings. You play your whole career there, right?
Yeah, only 1 year at Seattle.
Yep. Oh, Seattle 1 year.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But you came back home, right?
Right, they did. Came back to Minnesota. Yes.
That's amazing.
For you, as you get a chance to speak to young and old, right? At the Recovery Center, we found out also you went to the Learning Center for kids and adults.
Yeah.
As well. What's your message to the younger generation now that, you know, when they go to the Hall of Fame, they see your bust and they read about you and see films of you, and then you get an opportunity to speak to some of the younger generation?
Well, you know, there's the other day I was somewhere talking to a group of guys who are not the kids, but when the coach would talk to me, you had to listen, you know, and I had to get the plays right, you know, and I couldn't make too many mistakes. I'd make very few mistakes, but every once in a while I'd make a mistake. I wasn't perfect. But, you know, it was, I pride myself in being able to do that because when I see the guys who say, "Oh, you can't tell me nothing. I won't listen to the coach. I'll do this." Those were the guys that didn't make it. In the long run, they did not make it, and that was the big difference between the two. I respected the coach, I respected the player, I learned what they were trying to teach me, and I sunk in, and I did it. You know, I didn't think about it a long time ago. I said, "Wow, I should skip practice."
Right.
But no, I couldn't. No.
But that's different today.
No,
because
no.
Football is different today.
Yeah.
Than when you played.
Yeah.
Do you still watch? Do you like the game today?
I actually love the game today. I don't watch it as much as I'd like to. I think in my head I would want to be out there, you know, but so I don't watch it much. But there are a lot of good players, you know, and I played with a lot of good players. Man, guys that didn't get the accolades, you know. I think, well, right now I want to see those players and visit those players because those guys know what it was like. You know, not that people don't, because what they're fans and all that stuff, but like the gridiron is like, it was something, man. I mean, guys, you know, against the Bears or, you know, Dallas even, you know, as whoever it was, these guys are pros, man, and they would come after you. And I said, you got to beat those guys 14, 15 weeks out of the year, you know, so I think about that every once in a while, so.
The legendary Carl Eller, Hall of Famer, in studio with us here on the Kenny and JT Show on WHBC, class of 2004, Purple People Eaters. We mentioned the names, and you mentioned, you know, you're in the Hall of Fame, but it takes 53, right? It takes an entire team.
Yes.
And you and I were talking, you know, about the Super Bowl, Super Bowl IX, where I mentioned Franco Harris, and you said, no, it was the other guy, Rocky Blyer, a role player, right?
Yes.
So while you guys got the accolades as the Purple People Eaters, to get to 4 Super Bowls, it took a group of guys, even the unsung heroes, too, right?
It took the cornerbacks, you know, you know, all those guys. And we come and huddle. Of course, they call the play, what you're going to run. But you say, hey, man, you got to cover that guy. You know, I can't just go in there and tackle the quarterback. You know, if you hold that guy for this break or that one, maybe I'll get to him. You know, I say I'll try my best to get to him. You know, you really, you love each other because you depend on each other. You know, if he lets the guy run down the field open, boom. You know, that's it. So, yeah, you get a lot out of just your teammates.
133 and a half career sacks in his NFL career, wreaking havoc in the backfield.
And you got to remember, when he first started, they didn't even keep the statistic.
Right, yeah.
So it could have been even much more than that.
I think it was.
I do too.
No, we know it was, right? And Deacon Jones, we can thank for the
Deacon Jones,
the term stack, right?
What a guy, man! What a guy! You know, oh man. Yeah.
Alan Page as a teammate, he's you know, local guy, Stark County guy, and he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What was it like playing with Alan Page?
As Jim Marshall would say, we don't know that guy. And I would confirm. But Alan was dedicated because he went to a law school while he was practicing.
Really?
And he would come just in time to off his clothes, put on his practice clothes, and go into the practice field. And we look at the guy, you know, we look at him and say, man, that guy's weird, man.
Right.
Yeah, but he was a dedicated ball player. He knew his stuff and playing. And what we needed was quick up the middle, and that's what he provided. Along with Gary. Gary couldn't do it by himself. We had some of the guys who were journeymen, really good guys, but not that we need an element.
Gary Larson, right?
Yeah,
You're talking about
Larson.
Gary, Doug Sutherland as part of the Purple People.
And those guys, they would hold the line, you know, but we needed a guy get some penetration, you know, because Marshall from that side and I come from the other side.
Great teams.
No
Yes.
place to go.
Yeah, hey, like we said, teams, offensive coordinators did not sleep the night before as they were planning to play your defenses for sure.
They shouldn't have slept. Yeah.
Oh, well, he's right, though. How can, if you know you got Alan Page and Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, and then the other Sutherland and Larson, right?
Yeah.
How could you sleep if you're the OC? You come back, Hall of Fame weekend and the parade and why, it's such a big deal here in Canton, Ohio. Do you appreciate how much Canton loves you and all of the Hall of Famers?
Well, do you guys appreciate how much we love Canton?
Absolutely.
And Canton and the Hall of Fame, man. It's like, I bet you every guy is saying, man, oh, man, the Hall of Fame, boy, is something. I did it myself, and so, man, it's a real pleasure and privilege, to be among these guys I played against. They were, you could say no joke, but it doesn't sculpt it high. I'm saying these guys, they earn a living playing, keeping me from tackling the quarterback. So you got to have respect for those guys. And so I did. I have respect for the guys I played against, and I studied those guys. But, man, I love the fact that I did make it, and
right.
So I great honors, I've gotten the honors, and I appreciate them. It's not something I take lightly. I have to tell you this, I did take it lightly for a while. This is a confession.
Okay.
That's what made me appreciate what the past couple of years of what the Hall of Fame represents. You don't make the Hall of Fame easily. You don't make it just by wanting to be a Hall of Famer. You don't make it by just bragging I'm a Hall of Famer. You got to work and sweat and earn it. And that's what I did. And so I earned the Hall of Fame title, badge, or whatever you call it. But it's one I truly appreciate.
Well, we really appreciate the fact that we get to spend a few minutes because, as someone who grew up here in the Hall of Fame city my entire life, I'm 61 years old now. And for the most part, it's always been wave to a guy that's been in the parade or look at a guy who's being inducted on the steps of the Hall of Fame before they moved it into the stadium. And we never took it for granted, but at the same time, to really get to understand someone, meet someone, have a break of water, a drink of water, break bread, meet your lovely wife. Molly, thank you so much for bringing Mr. Eller today and for your visit. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to our listeners. And every week, like Kenny said, we get a different Pro Football Hall of Famer, and it means the world to us. So God bless you, and thank you so much.
Well, God bless you guys. Thank you guys for having me here. And I'm sure other guys feel the same.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your time here this week in Canton. Hopefully we'll see you back Hall of Fame time and in the future as well, Carl. All right?
See me.
Hey, by the way, I saw that you visited the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're not putting you in that one.
No.
You just stay in this one. We keeping you. All right?
No, I better go and see you guys later.
The legendary Carl Eller, one of the Purple People Eaters, in studio with us here on the Kenny and JT Show. We'll get a break in right now. We'll come back with more right after this.
The Roadman and JT on 1480 WHBC.
WHBC AM Canton.